Welcome back. This is Mike Goldenberg with Abzan Company. I'm on the play. I will of course play, and I have a very good hand, so I will keep. This hand has what I'm looking for in terms of it's got the turn 1 accelerant, it has a druid, and then it's got much more late game as well. If I could craft a perfect hand, this is going to be pretty close. I did shock, just in case. There's a lot of interaction right now. Just in case the Noble dies, I do want access to white mana. Okay, looks like we're against Jeskai. Play the Druid. Unless the opponent has more removal, I think it was probably incorrect to kill the bird. Birds don't do too much right now in Modern. Almost every deck that plays a dork, you're almost better off if you actually kill the second threat instead. Okay, not Jeskai. Grixis Death Shadow with a budget fetch land. Okay, so they do have the follow-up removal spell. I have a couple different lines here. I can Eternal Witness buyback Druid. I can play the Noble and the Duskwatch, and then set myself up for a Collected Company next turn. Or I could just do nothing. I don't really like doing nothing, so let's set myself up for a Collected Company next turn. This particular matchup, I doubt I'm going to be able to combo off, unless I just run my opponent out of resources. I have to be wary of Stubborn Denial hitting my Collected Company. Okay. Serum Visions. My opponent does not have a shadow in hand to be very confused. Put 2 cards on top, and then play to fetch land. Okay. Going to see if my opponent will fetch at the end of the turn, and if they do, I will cast Company right then. Okay, they did not. Stubs would be bad. Yep. That's one reason why I blocked there, just to save 5 life. Just in case they had the Stubborn Denial, and I didn't get any more creatures put into play. Grab the Company. Hope they don't have a removal spell and I can block. I'm dead to a TBR, so I don't want to play around it. I could have just grabbed the Noble Hierarch there as an extra blocker, but that's not going to win me the game. That's just going to wall off my opponent some more. The best possible draw at this point is a resolved Collected Company into a couple Kitchen Finks, so that's what I'm digging for. Okay, so I'm dead to TBR. So this matchup, let's grab in the Discord for Modern Creature Toolbox, I have my sideboard guide. And for Grixis Death Shadow, it's an even matchup. Kitchen Finks and Shalai help a lot. Our dorks do a good job jump blocking. Don't plan on comboing, but also don't plan on having a slow clock either. The opponents can end the game quick too. The cards you have to be wary of: Timber Battle Rage, Stubborn Denial, which we saw both of those in game 1, which is why we lost, and Last Hope. So we're taking out combo pieces, and we're bringing in removal and interaction. I think I like that. I actually like Walking Ballista in this matchup. It's a way to take out an opponent who's a little bit too precarious with their life total, which our opponent, you can just see, kind of was there. This hand's slow. It's grindy. It can get torn apart, but it is pretty redundant. I actually think I'll keep this. I don't love it, but I still think I'll keep it. Keeping a hand like this means I cannot afford to draw lands. But having natural 4 mana is nice against a collected when I can draw into Collected Company. I'm expected to be Thought Seized here. An Eternal Witness kind of rebuys a little bit of redundancy for me. Well, sometimes you don't get Thought Seized, so that's nice. Preserving my life total. And my opponent's probably going to slow down a little bit and play a little bit more of like a combo deck. Sorry, a little more like a control deck. Or game 1 Shadow, I feel like, is more of a Temur Battle Rage deck. The key cards in this matchup, I have a couple of them in my hand right now, which is why I kept such a weak hand. They only run 8 real threats. So having Path into Eternal Witness is very good. It's kind of like the Izzet Phoenix matchup where I want to load up on removal spells. Eternal Witness is a great draw, because now I can actually just keep playing Path to Exiles every turn, unless I get removed from my graveyard somehow. Okay. My plan here is usually just to not really attack unless I know I'm about to win. My opponent does enough damage to themselves as is. Okay. They did not have Shadow and Stubbs, or Street Wraith and Stubbs. even if my opponent has a Thoughtseize, I still get to path their next threat. Sure. We're just going to Eternal Witness and Eternal Witness here. Which represents lethal on the board, and I have 2 Path Exiles next turn. So even if they Stubbs 1 or Thoughtseize 1 or drop 2 blockers, I should be okay. Okay. Snap Serum Visions. So if I cast Path now and they have Stubbs, it actually gets countered. I'm gonna wait till next turn. Beautiful. I assume they have a Bolt to kill the Eternal Witness here. Okay. Being in the draw and be a little bit faster. So I'm replacing a Knight of Autumn with a Noble Hierarch. Now the sideboard guide I did show, I actually go into quite a length about how I like something called fluid sideboarding. I don't know if I coined that or where that name came from, but I think it accurately describes what I like to do, which is sideboard based a little bit upon how my opponent's playing in the situation. Keep this. Turn 1 Dork, turn 2 Finks is a decent start. I'm also finding a 2 of away from infinite life. And so I've not seen a Mishra's Bauble from our opponent, which I think is kind of wrong in this type of deck. Best possible draw is probably Collected Company here. Vizier's pretty darn good too. Okay. If the Noble was not bolted, or braided, I would have played Viscera Seer with the Verdant Catacombs. If I can only play one thing this turn, I will play the Druid, which forces my opponent to kill it. Yep. And I have my shotgun effect here with the Eternal Witness and the Path to Exile, which is again my same game plan I have against Is It Phoenix. It's just run them out of threats. If they want to be a threat light deck, I'll try to make them, or I'll have them be punished for it. Oh, that's a beautiful draw. So I don't mind attacking here, because they can have the shadow anyway if they want, just by fetch shocking. Didn't put a single white in the pool. So I could Eternal Witness for the Druid, but I'm not really planning on comboing here. I'm planning on playing a very fair, balanced game. They're gonna play 1 mana 7/7s and 1 mana 5/5s, and my goal is just to play 3 mana 3/2s that gain me 2 life twice. Looks like a Fatal Push. Sure. Okay. So a discard spell could wipe away the path, but a discard spell also would have wiped away the Eternal Witness in the same spot. There's a bauble. Alright. So opponent targets himself. They do have a fetch land in play. Four, 7. Yeah, I think I'm safe. Even through TBR, I'm not dead. Just in case it's a stubs on top. So it sounds like it was a stubs on top, and I responded, so my opponent will be shuffling away that card, because they no longer need a Stubborn Denial when they no longer have a creature in play. Okay. Let's knock our opponent down to 3. And play another Finks. I'm very soft to Anger of the Gods here, but I haven't been seeing too much Anger of the Gods in Grixis Death Shadow. It's pretty rough on their mana base. So there we go. That was a win against Grixis Death Shadow, which for a normal Abzan Company build is a very, very tough matchup. But my build is much grindier. It's much more, it sides into almost like an Abzan mid-range deck. Just instead of Tarmogoyf and Liana, I have Eternal Witnesses and Path Exile loops. Kind of like a Abzan Value Town deck. So that's the deck. It's very stock compared to stock for me, stock for the list that I've been promoting for months now. A big difference though is that I did just drop Renegade Rallier, which saddens my heart, but I'm testing out a 4th Eternal Witness in his slot just to help in the Izzet Phoenix and coincidentally the Grixis Death Shadow matchups. The 4th Witness isn't there for Grixis Death Shadow, it's there for Izzet Phoenix, where Rallier's good, but Rallier doesn't help us beat Thing in the Ice, and Eternal Witness does by looping Path Exiles, which is another reason why I went up to 4 here. Once I went up to 4 here and 4 here, I felt like I could confidently say I was going to be able to cast 2 Path Exiles in a single game against Izzet Phoenix. And if I could take out 2 Thing in the Ice or a Thing in the Ice and a Crackling Drake, then I feel like I could come out ahead in that matchup. Still very tough matchup, but I feel like this game plan lets us have a good going into game 2, especially I feel favored in game 2 on the play if we lose game 1, and then game 3, it's we just gotta go for it and hope they don't have the nuts. So this is the deck. I did drop Tireless Tracker when I changed the 9th fetch land, the Misty Rainforest, into a Razorverge Thicket, which is much better when there's a lot of lightning bolts running around and your life total does matter. This deck, believe it or not, does have a favorable matchup against Burn. Again, unlike some other Devoted Druid decks, because Devoted Druid just dies to pretty much everything. But this deck isn't trying to combo out. It has game 1 is trying to combo pretty hard, but not as hard as maybe some of the other lists, like the Lunge lists or any of those, or Eldritch Evolution. It's pretty grindy here, especially with 4 value cards and a Scooze main. And then sideboard, it, like I've been talking about, it does side into that mid-range deck. But the Burn matchup's very good because not only the Shalai main and the 4 Finks and the Scavenging Ooze, very painless mana base here, but also 3 Knight of Autumns and 2 Sin Collectors coming out of the side is lights out against Burn. The third Knight of Autumn has been my 15 sideboard slot for a while. I usually build a 14 card sideboard and like a 57 card deck, and then I kind of tweak from there based on how the meta shifts. In this, whenever I don't know exactly what I want Knight of Autumn. It's great against Burn. It's great when I don't know the meta. It's also great with Lantern and Snaring Bridge being a big deal. Or in that new Whir deck, which is, I still call it Lantern, but it is a totally different deck. So, Knight of Autumn is absolutely fantastic out of the board. As I have said before, I don't think it's great in the main board, simply because it's best against the cards we're expecting games 2 and 3. It's not really as good as against the cards we're expecting game 1. Game 1, we just want to see if we can combo out, then have our opponent's sideboard as if we're a combo deck, and then we side into a more mid-range deck in preparation for our opponent having more removal and being forced to interact with us. So that's a deck. That was a good match against Grixis Death Shadow. I will see you in the next one.